Is there an intro? Is there going to be an intro? Hi. Hi, my name is Melanie. And you could call me Mel too, okay? I create, that's what I do. It's going to be a tutorial today. Hi, how are you? Hope all is well. Today we're gonna go into it. Like, here's the double cross stitch, needlepoint. How to do the double cross stitch. And this is my third go round with this with making the tutorial. I'm like, oh heck no. If you would have seen the last one, like here I am saying it's a super easy stitch and I'm making all these mistakes and oh, it was a process. So I'm like, you know what? Let's start it over. I want to show you the double cross stitch, and no matter what happens on this tutorial, this is an easy stitch. So here it is. This is the double cross stitch, not this pink and burgundy color, okay? These yellow, pink, and blue color. All right, so I'm going to turn this around. You'll get a better view of it. Hold on. Okay, there it is, double cross stitch. Okay, to the left where I'm pointing with my finger, this is the double cross stitch in all the same color. To the right, I've made some of the X's, so the cross stitch is basically an X. But this is an elongated cross stitch, all right? So you're skipping squares to make the larger X. And in the center, there's a space that opens up. So what happens is when you make the X's and you put them all in the same row, all on the same row, from the top and the bottom, you have the shape that gets created, which is this diamond. The legs of the X make a diamond shape in between where I'm pointing to with the needle. They make a diamond shape in between. That's what happens with the X's. So when you line the X's up, it naturally makes the elongated cross stitch. This is what this is. These X's are cross stitch. The elongated cross stitch naturally makes this diamond in between. Okay, there's a diamond that happens. It's in between the legs of the X's. All right, and that's filled in with a plus sign. So there will be, actually what there is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3 open squares. And I want to show you this on the book. And let me get the book to show you that this is how the diagram, to get you a clearer diagram of how this looks. So hold on, let me get the book. All right. So you can see what happens is there's the X. Okay. There's the X. Don't look at the numbers for now. There's the X. You're going to go through the 3 squares. You're going to skip them. And then you'll come up on the 4th square. You'll skip 1, 2, 3, and you'll go down on this 4th square. And you'll cross the thread. You'll make the next X, which is here, which is what my needle is pointing to, okay? You can make the X's, I suppose, and this at the same time. But I'm going to make a row of X's first. Then you'll make the next X, and then I will fill in with this plus sign. That's that plus sign that my needle is pointing to. So right here, you skip that square. So you have 9 squares in the center that are free and open, if you will. There's no stitches in them. You'll then go back and put stitches in this portion here, which is 1, 2, 3 squares, and the 1, 2, 3 squares over there, right? So you have 9 squares right here that are open. but you're only going to work the three squares here. And as you can see, you'll skip this square that I'm pointing to cross horizontally, and then you'll skip the square to cross vertically. And that's what fills in and looks like a little bump that's in between the elongated cross stitches, these X's. Okay, and this is what it looks like more of when you come down. So what with the cross stitch, once you make this strand here of yarn, the next strand to start the stitch is going to, if you start it that way, is going to go right into the exact same square. And this line here will go right into the exact same square, right into the same square for the stitches. And when you start this one, it's going to go right into the square there. And then you'll start that one, and there is the diagram. Okay, and here is what that looks like on chart. All right, that's what that would look like on the chart, where you'll have these elongated X's. You basically come up on the square 4, you go down on square 4. Diagonally, you're skipping three stitches. Horizontally and vertically, you're skipping 3 stitches. So you're either coming up on the 4th stitch or going down on the 4th stitch. And then in between, there's these little plus signs where you skip that middle box of the 9 squares. You skip that middle square, and you'll bring your needle up here or down here, skipping this center square of the 9 squares. Okay, as best as I can put that. So there is the double cross stitch on chart. On the picture, this is what the double cross stitch, see, this is what the double cross stitch looks like in the book. So you can see, in case you hadn't noticed, the X's, all right, these X's right here, and maybe this looks to me like they've either double stranded the yarn or they've added strands to the yarn. You have the one strand, so they're probably using Persian tapestry wool, and you have the one strand of yarn. But when you cross a lot of boxes, whether you're going up or down or diagonally, if the yarn's too thin, you won't get the coverage to cover the canvas. So when you see this here, all right, so they've done it all in one color. It looks to me, see where I'm pointing right here with the needle, that they doubled the yarn or added strands. And it looks like they might have came back and did it, because if you look at some of the X's, it doesn't look like they needed to like they didn't add any yarn. So my recommendation is you get a yarn that's going to cover the canvas as much as you would like, a thicker yarn, or you get yarn where you can add a strand or 2. But this to me looks totally like they've added strands to the yarn in order to get an efficient coverage of the canvas. Oh, I forgot to turn, sorry about that. I forgot to close the window. I live by a trafficy street. Hold on a second. And good evening, by the way. All right, so if you look at what I have here, this is the color. That it's all the same color for the stitch. As you can see, it's way clearer. It's a sharper looking stitch. It's 100% acrylic, and I'm experimenting with colors, okay, with yarn fibers. So right here, you can see I got, some more coverage of the canvas, more effective coverage of the canvas. I played around with the colors a bit, and here and there I've had a little peek through of the canvas, okay? Just a little bit of peek through, because some of these yarns are a little thinner, and I think pretty much I've pulled my tension a little bit tighter. So my suggestion would be either you find a little thicker yarn that will give you a better coverage, or if you have the tapestry wool for needlepoint, you add a couple of strands to the main strand to thicken the yarn, or you get, or if you're using embroidery floss, you could do the same thing, and that way you can get the coverage. If you don't mind a little bit of peek through here and there, you're good to go. You might come back through, but you can see how I would suggest when you have I would say, that if you just get a thicker yarn, you get a cleaner, clearer stitch, where the stitch work is very more defined. Okay, that's the word, the more defined stitch. All right, so I'm going to get started with the stitch. And we're going to get started with making the elongated cross stitch, okay? Let me see if I can get something behind there so it's not so confused looking. And I'm going to start, you see where I have the cross stitch? I don't really want to do that. I want to start just like you would probably start. I'm just going to start here. I'm going to come up on one, right? That's what I'm going to do. I don't have a knot. I'm just holding it down with my finger, the little tail. And then I'm going to go one to the diagonal and skip 3 stitches. So I come up on one here. I'm going to skip, 3 squares. Skip 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to go down here on 4. I'm going to skip 3 squares coming here. See where I put this stitch? Here, excuse me, I'm going to skip these 3 squares going downward. 1, 2, 3, and come up on 4. I'm going to now cross the yarn over the other yarn. And how I'm going to do that is I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, right? Skipping 3, 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to come down on 4 with the needle. And ta-da, that's a cross stitch right there. Okay. And now when I make the next stitch, I'm going to work to the right. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to come up here on 4, and then I'm going to cross diagonally, which is 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to go down on 4. And yes, the 4 has a stitch already in there, the 4 square, and I'm going to go right in that same stitch that already has the yarn in it. Okay. And now I'm going to come here, right? So the needle, yeah. So there's 1, 2, 3 squares, and I'm going to come up right, yep, into the same square that already has yarn in it, and I'm going to come down here, which is 1, 2, 3, and then 4, skip the 3, and come down here, okay? Put the needle there, and there's your second stitch. And that's it. That's the cross stitch. I'm going to come up here because I find that the easiest. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, skip those squares, come there. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, and here's 4. Come up at 4. I'm going to go down. This is actually going down at the 4th square, but I don't need to count it because I know I have to go into this stitch to make the X. One, 2, 3, and here is 4. I'm not counting it because I know I need to go here to cross the stitch. Okay, I know I need to go here. This is 1, 2, 3, and here's 4. And ta-da, that's it. So by the time I've got to about the 3rd or 4th stitch, I know there's some things like, oh, I gotta, in order to cross, I don't need to count anymore. So now, here's this stitch. I want to start the next X's. So here is the next stitch. I'm going to count from here. 1, 2, 3, and here is the 4th stitch. I know I got to go here because I know, like, these 2 stitches connect. But, yeah, let's say, count it. 1, 2, 3, and there is 4. Go down onto the 4th stitch. Here is the next stitch is here. And this is probably not the neatest way, but I will. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4. And there's the next stitch. Right? And I know in order to make the X, I need to get in here. One, 2, 3, and there's the 4. And I'm going to come into this square. From this angle, stitches just wasn't looking right. Right, here's 1. Come up here. 1, 2, 3, and here is the 4th stitch. Let's see if I have enough yarn to do another one. So here I've got this here. That's where the yarn is. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. Here is 4. And then I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, and there's 4 right into that same one. And count it one more time. Here is this. And there is this. Okay. And I might have enough for one more stitch. I'm going to count it over. 1. That's not the one. It's 1, 2, 3. Here's 4. Okay. I'm going to cross there into that stitch. I'm going to come here, and I'm going to go there, and I have just enough. Okay, there is your cross stitches. Now what's happening here is these are the center boxes. There's that one where my needle is pointing, see? There's the center box. There's the center box. There's the center box. There's the center box too, by the way, but I'm not going to deal with the sides just yet. There's the diamond that the legs of the X make. There's the diamond. There's the diamond. And you can see right now, if you're looking, here is the center box where my needle's pointing. There, next center box, next center box there, the next center box is there, the next center box is there, the next one is there, the next one is there, the next center box is there, the next one is there, the next one is there. And what you're going to do, I don't have any yarn in right now, but what happens is you're going to come up right through there. See? I don't have the yarn in yet. I'm coming up right through there. I'm going to go skip the box, put the needle down through there. I'm going to probably come up through here and go skip the box and go down through there. Or I'm going to come up through here, I'm pointing, skip the box, go down through here, bring the yarn over up through here, and then go down through there. And that is the little plus sign that you're going to make inside the little diamond shape. Okay, so I'm going to use pink. I'm going to see where I put the needle, so I'm skipping and coming below it. So this right here is a box. So I just moved the yarn a little bit so you can see. I'm going to bring the pink up through there. Let's hope I have enough pink to fill this and I don't have to stir it. I don't have to re-thread. Yeah, sure. Could use some longer yarn. I'm going to come up through here. I'm looking to feel through the tail. Okay. I'm going to skip this center box and go down through there. I'm going to go to the left side, the box to the left, come over there, and then going to go to this box right there, and that's that center there. I'm going to go to the next diamond because that's that stitch done. And that's those are cross stitches too. They're just not on a diagonal. There's that there. I'm going to skip the box, go down. I'm going to go over to the left. I'm going to go down right there. See? I'm going to go to the next box and I'm going to look to make sure I'm at the center. So I'll pull the yarn back a little bit. That is the center box, the center square, sorry. I keep calling them boxes. I'm going to skip the box. And this one, just push the yarn back a little bit, just so you can see the box if you need to. Go to the left, go across, and go over to there. I'm going to come up. See, there's this. You go to the next one because the stitch is finished. I finished the stitch. I'm looking for that center. It's pretty obvious, to some, mostly it's pretty obvious. I'm going to I pushed the leg of the X a little bit so I could see that and you see this one here? This is the one where you're like, where is the square, right? But I just go by the leg of the square is right there. But I could spend a little more time and push back the yarn. Okay. So I'm going to go and get the top part done. Why not? Since I didn't start there. Putting that stitch through there. I'm going to skip the box and go there. Okay. Then that box can't be seen anymore. So you literally are just going to the box to the right. And there is that box is there. And I'll come over to there. And there's the fill in plus stitches of the diamond portion that's made by the X's. And you see this here? I'm just going to make sure that this center box is, push the yarn back a little bit to make sure I can see. So I'm going to put the needle up through there. Skip the box, which I now can't see, but I'm still skipping over the yarn that's covering the box. The squares, the meshes. And you see this one is right here, see it? That one is right there. And ta-da, ta-da, ta-da. I'm gonna go look for this. Now, how do you finish? You see the sides? There's no, okay, there isn't any, this does not finish out accordingly. So I'll show you how it's finished. You come up through here. Here is where you're going to skip the box. And then you're going to come down and make the stitch. Okay? So what happens with this stitch is the ends aren't even. They're literally not even. So you make the stitch, right, because this would be the center here. You see where I'm pointing? That's the center. So you're going to go ahead and make the stitch. You're going to go right just like that, and the ends do not evenly finish, okay? But there's something in needlepoint called compensation stitches, all right? They're called compensation stitches. So if you have a design or you have something that is uneven where you're stitching a design. For example, you would be using maybe the 10th stitch, and you're stitching the design, or you're using other stitches, and I guess this would be up to artist uh, executive decision, okay? If that's the word for it, your creative decision. How do you want to finish this? So I'm thinking you could use a straight stitch if you wanted to, right? You could use a straight stitch, or you could use the 10th stitch, where you start making 10 stitches to fill in these areas that I'm pointing to with the needle that isn't finished. This end does not finish evenly. Okay, so if you was depending on what you're making, I guess, or what you're using, or how you're creating the piece that you're making, and if you're using these stitches, and you will know that these stitches do not uh, finish out evenly. Okay, so there would be some type of other stitch you would use, or maybe some tent stitches or a long stitch to put in for where you don't want the canvas to be showing. I guess if you're sewing up a canvas from here, if that's possible, which I'm sure it is, you wouldn't want to, maybe you wouldn't be concerned about that. But let's say you're going to cut your canvas from where my finger is, right? And then your seam or something, if you're cutting your canvas, starts there. Or if you're using a frame and you're framing the picture, then if your frame is coming in over this uneven edge where there's canvas that's showing, I guess, it wouldn't matter. But that is, well, help before that, okay? So it depends on how you want to straighten out this stitch, okay, at the edges. But it does not end, the double cross stitch doesn't end evenly, all right, at the ends of the row or at the beginning of the row. But you will see right here, if you take a look, let's say we're going to the other side of this. Here's the center box. Here's the center box right here, okay? Here's the center box right here. So you would just complete the plus sign like you normally would, right? Hope you got that. I hope it makes sense for you. I hope it works out really well. Lovely stitch. Totally enjoy making this stitch. Here's the color possibilities or combinations, if that's that I was working on. And as I'm looking at this, I'm like, yeah, it looks pretty okay. I don't see too much peek through of the canvas. And maybe I would find a yarn that's a little bit thicker, so that or I could make a little bit thicker. But me personally, I wouldn't want to make this in double strands of yarn. But it seems like it looks pretty good. Hey, what do you think? I think it looks like I've covered enough of the canvas for my liking. And there's something to be said about distance. And this is one of the things I've noticed, is that you could, sometimes some projects, when you see it at a distance, you don't your eyes don't pick up all these, incredibly minute details. Like there's a little bit of a thingy there, or, it's like a trigger the eye, if you will, for lack of a better word. Is that it? Like your eyes will not see this, but if you come up close, you might see a little peek through. Or if you have your piece at a different angle, you might see a little bit of a peek through. But typically what I've noticed is, because I have a needlepoint where I have a fair share of peek through, totally inexperienced, where I was using but when the stitch is up, when it's straight up, it's barely detectable at all if you have a little bit of peek through the canvas. But if you get it, put this at an angle, maybe a little peek through. If I was hanging this on a wall, I wouldn't be straight on a wall. I wouldn't be able to see any other little peek through. So I guess it's a personal choice or decision as to would you go with that. I'm seriously considering making a purse out of this stitch, big time. Like I'm thinking about making a bag where maybe I have a few stitches in the needlepoint in the sample, and the rest of it might be tent stitch. You know, a bag that holds my cell phone and, not a big bag or not a big tote bag, but maybe even a project bag that I use also as my purse bag that I. All right, that's it for the tutorial on the double cross stitch. Hope it was clear and helped you out. And enjoy. God bless. Love and peace. May the universe always take care of you, of course. And yeah, hope this helps. Well, of course, right? And that's what day it is. March 30th, 2026. Monday. Beautiful, warm, gorgeous spring day here today. And let's hope for Toronto, Canada, that that's springtime moving forward. Okay, the weather is warm, is nice. It's just gonna move right into summer beautifully. Bye, winter. Get on, winter. We are done with this winter. This particular winter is kind of brutal. I think last year was too, but I think this one was a little bit rougher for us. All right, take care. See you later. Bye.